What if the old woman your mother told you never to visit was not a legend every town has one? Every neighborhood, every long stretch of road where the houses get farther apart and the trees get taller and the air feels different, heavier, older, like the land itself is holding something in. Every place like that has a story about someone who lives at the end of it. An old woman, a strange woman, a woman who people say things about in low voices at the back of the church, or at the school gate, or over the fence between yards. A woman who has been there longer than anyone remembers. A woman the children are told never to visit, never to speak to, never to look at too long. Most of those stories are just stories, but the story I am about to tell you is not just a story. My name is Cora. I grew up in a small town in rural Louisiana called Pinewell, and the woman at the end of our road was named Mama Dread. That was not her real name. I do not think anyone alive still knows her real name. Mama Dread was what the people of Pinewell called her, had always called her, for as long as the town had existed. And the things that happened to me and my brother and my best friend in the summer I was 14 years old. The things that started because we did not listen, because we went to the end of the road when we were told never, ever to go. Those things changed us. Some of the changes you could see. Some of them you could not. My brother has not spoken about that summer in 20 years. My best friend moved away and changed her name, and I have not heard from her since. I am the only one still willing to say it out loud. So here it is, all of it. Pinewell, Louisiana was the kind of small town that felt like it existed slightly outside of time. It had one gas station, one church, one school that went from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade, and a diner called Bet's that served the same menu it had served since 1974. The people of Pinewell were good people, church people, garden people, front porch people who knew their neighbors and their neighbors' business and their neighbors' grandparents' business too. They were warm and generous and fiercely protective of their town and the people in it. And they were, every single one of them, completely and genuinely terrified of Mama Dread. Not in the way people are afraid of a rumor. In the way people are afraid of something they have seen with their own eyes and decided they would rather not see again. My mother was afraid of her. My grandmother was afraid of her. The pastor of our church, a large, calm man who was not afraid of anything I had ever seen, went pale and quiet when her name came up, and he would say only, "We leave that woman to God's judgment. We do not go near her. We do not speak to her. And we do not send our children anywhere near the end of that road." The road was Calvary Lane. It ran south from the center of Pinewell for about 2 miles through a stretch of pine and cypress trees so thick that the road was dark even at noon in summer. And at the end of it, set back from the road behind a yard full of things I will describe in a moment, was a house. A small, low house, gray with age, with a porch that sagged on one side and windows that were always dark. A house that looked like it had been there since before the trees around it, and was planning to be there long after. The yard was the thing that got you first, even from the road, even driving past at speed, which most people did. Looking straight ahead, you could see it. Tall wooden poles, maybe 15 of them, planted in the ground around the house like a fence that was not quite a fence. And on each pole, hanging from string or wire, or sometimes just looped around the top, things. Bundles of dried plants, animal bones, small bags tied with colored thread, pieces of cloth knotted in patterns I did not know the names of, birds' feet, shells, feathers and fur, and things I could not identify and did not want to. My mother called it root work. She said it the way you say something you respect deeply and fear equally. She said, "That woman does things that were done before the church came to this place. Old things, and she is very good at them. And you will never, ever go to the end of that road. Do you understand me?" I said yes. I was 14 years old. It was July, and school was out, and I had too much time and not enough sense. So of course, eventually we went. It was my brother's idea. My brother Darius was 16 that summer, tall, loud, the kind of boy who needed to prove something to someone at all times, the way 16-year-old boys do. He had a group of friends who hung around our porch in the evenings and talked big talk and dared each other into things. And somewhere in the middle of a long, hot July afternoon, the dares ran out, and someone, I do not remember who, said Mama Dread's name. And then they were all looking at each other. And then they were all looking at Darius. And Darius was looking at the road. He said, "I'll walk to her gate and touch it." His friends made sounds of disbelief and admiration. Then one of them, a boy named Marcus, with a gap in his front teeth, said, "I'll believe it when I see it." That was how Darius ended up going. And that was how I ended up going. Because Darius was my brother, and I was not going to let him do something that's stupid alone. And my best friend Layla came because Layla went everywhere I went, had gone everywhere I had gone since we were 6 years old. And she was also, privately, the bravest person I knew. The three of us waited until late afternoon, not dark, but getting there, the gold light going orange, and the shadows of the pine trees reaching long across the road. We told our parents we were going to sit on the levee. We walked south on Calvary Lane. We did not run. Running felt like admitting you were afraid, and we were very much afraid, and very much refusing to admit it. The walk to the end of Calvary Lane took about 25 minutes. We did not talk much on the way. The trees closed in on both sides as we went deeper, and the air changed slower, heavier, thick with the smell of pine resin. And something underneath that, something older, like wet earth and smoke that had been burning for a very long time. Layla held my hand for the last half mile. I let her. We came around the last bend in the road, and the house was there. I had seen it from a car before, the way everyone in Pinewell had, but being on foot was different. Being on foot and close was completely different. The poles were taller than I had thought, 8, 9 feet tall, some of them, and the things hanging from them were moving. Not in a wind. There was no wind. They were moving the way things move when the air around them is different from the air you are standing in. Small, deliberate movements, like each thing was alive in some small and private way. Darius walked up to the gate. He was trying to look bored. His hands were shaking. He put his hand on the gate. He counted to 5 out loud. He turned around. He looked at us, and he was about to say something triumphant and stupid, when the front door of the house opened, and Mama Dread came out onto the porch. I had never seen her this close. Nobody I knew had ever seen her this close and chosen to be here. She was old, very old, the kind of old that goes past a number, the kind of old that is its own thing, like a tree or a stone. She was small and bent and dark-skinned with white hair pulled back from her face, and she was wearing a dress the color of old wood, and she had no shoes on. Her feet were bare on the rotting porch boards, and she stood there, and she looked at us. She did not look angry. She did not look afraid. She looked interested. The way a person looks when they see something unexpected that they have been thinking about for a while. She looked at Darius first, for a long time. Then she looked at Layla, also for a long time. And then she looked at me. And when she looked at me, I felt something happen that I do not have good words for. Something between my chest and my stomach. Not pain, not fear, but a recognition. Like something in me recognized something in her, and neither of us had agreed to this meeting. But it was happening anyway, she said, in a voice that was low and unhurried and clear. You 3 should not be here. Darius, still trying to be brave. We were just passing. Mama Dread looked at him the way adults look at children who are lying and have decided not to fight about it. Then she said something I have never forgotten. She said, "One of you already has something of mine on them, and they did not know it. And now they do not need to come inside, because now I can find them whenever I want." Then she went back inside and closed the door. We ran. We ran the entire 2 miles back up Calvary Lane, and we did not stop running until we were on the porch of my house with the screen door shut behind us. We were gasping and sweating, and Layla was crying, and Darius was not making any sounds at all, which was more frightening than anything else, because Darius never stopped making sounds. We searched our pockets, our clothes, our shoes. We found nothing. Nothing that was not ours. Nothing we could not account for. We told ourselves she was a crazy old woman who wanted to frighten children. We almost believed it. For about 3 days, we almost believed it. It started with the dreams. My dreams, specifically, not Darius's, not Layla's, though they had their own things happening that they told me about later. My dreams started the night after we went to the end of the road, and they were the same dream every night, repeated with the consistency and clarity of something being broadcast rather than something being imagined. I was standing in Mama Dread's yard. Night. The poles around me with their hanging things. and the things were moving as they always moved, that living, private movement. The house was dark, and I was standing in the center of the yard, very still, because I understood in the dream that moving was not a good idea. That stillness was the only thing I had that was protecting me. And then Mama Dread would come out onto the porch, and she would look at me, and she would say, every time, the same words: "Come return what you took," before the taking becomes permanent. I did not understand what I had taken. I had taken nothing. I had not gone inside the yard. I had stood at the road while Darius touched the gate. I had taken nothing that I could see or name or put back. Every morning, I woke up feeling like I had not slept at all. Like I had spent the whole night standing very still in a yard full of moving things, being looked at. My mother noticed. She asked what was wrong. I said nothing. I was 14, and I was afraid that if I told her we had gone to the end of Calvary Lane, she would be so angry that I would never be allowed to leave the house again. Layla told me on the 4th day that she had started finding things. Small things, left in places she was sure they had not been before. A small bundle of dried herbs on her windowsill. A piece of black thread knotted in a pattern on the floor by her bed. A single bird feather tucked into the laces of her shoes. Darius stopped sleeping in his room. He dragged his mattress into the hallway and slept there instead. And when my mother asked why, he said he did not like the corner of his room. Just the corner. He would not look at it, and he would not say more than that. On the 7th day, I went back to the end of Calvary Lane, alone, in the afternoon, while the light was still good. I was going to tell Mama Dread that I had not taken anything and ask her to stop the dreams. She was already on the porch when I arrived, like she knew I was coming. Maybe she did. She let me through the gate. I followed her inside, which I had not planned to do. But when she turned and walked into the house and left the door open behind her, my feet followed her before my brain could vote on it. The inside of the house was one large room, a kitchen, and a living space together, with a small door at the back that was closed. The room was full of things, shelves along every wall, packed with jars and bottles and bundles and boxes. Dried plants hanging from the ceiling in clusters, so thick they formed a low, rustling canopy. A table in the center with a cloth over it, and 2 chairs. A single lamp burning with a flame that did not move no matter what happened in the room around it. She sat in one chair and gestured to the other. I sat. She looked at me for a long time. Then she said, "You do not know you took it." I said, "I did not take anything." She said, "Not on purpose. Things move toward certain people. Things that have been waiting to move toward them. When you touched my gate," she looked at me, "you did not touch my gate. Your brother touched my gate. But you were standing at the end of my path, and you were close enough, and something on one of my poles recognized you." I said, "Recognized me?" She said, "There is something in you that is old. Old like the things I work with are old. You did not put it there. You were born with it. I have known it was on this road for 30 years. I knew it would come to me eventually. I did not expect it to come attached to a 14-year-old girl who was doing a dare. She said this without any humor. She was not smiling. I said, "What recognized me?" She said, "The thing I have been keeping for 30 years. The thing someone gave me to keep, that I agreed to keep, that has been waiting on my pole in its little bag since before you were born. It recognized your blood. And when you came close enough, it moved. It detached from my pole and it moved to you. It is on you right now. You cannot see it. It has no physical form that your eyes can find. But it is there." I looked down at myself, my shirt, my jeans, my hands. I said, "What does it do?" Mama Dread looked at me. She looked at me for a very long time before she said, "It opens things. It is a key. And whoever carries it, eventually, ready or not, the door it belongs to will find them." I sat in that chair in that room, full of rustling things, and the still flame, and I said, "What door?" And Mama Dread said, "That is what I have been trying to find out for 30 years. Mama Dread told me things that afternoon that she said she had never told anyone, because she said she had been waiting for the right person to tell them to. And apparently, I was the right person, which was not something I had agreed to, but was apparently happening anyway. 32 years before that summer, a woman had come to Pinewell. Not a local woman, a stranger, arriving on foot with a single bag, who had knocked on Mama Dread's door in the middle of the night. Mama Dread, who was then in her 40s, which meant she was already ancient beyond ordinary calculation, had opened the door, because she said she knew, even before she opened it, that turning this woman away was not a choice that would lead anywhere good. The woman was badly frightened. She was trembling, and she kept looking behind her, even inside the house, as if the walls were not enough. She said she had made something she could not keep. A key, not a physical key, but a working. A piece of root work so old and so powerful that she had not fully understood what she was doing when she made it. She had been studying. She had been learning things from a teacher who had not told her the full shape of what she was learning until too late. And she had made this key, and the moment she made it, she understood what it was, for what door it would open, what was behind that door. And she understood that she could not be the one to carry it, because whoever carried the key would eventually find the door. And the door that had been waiting to be found for longer than anyone could count, was a door you could not unknow once you had seen it. A door that, once you found it, you had a choice to make: open it or walk away from it. And neither choice was without cost. The woman begged Mama Dread to keep it, to put it somewhere it would not find anyone, to hold it until someone came who was supposed to carry it, who had the right kind of old blood, the kind of blood that the key was made from in the first place. Mama Dread agreed. She put the key, formless, invisible, made of will and old blood and older words, into a small bundle and tied it to a pole in her yard. And she waited, for for 32 years, until a 14-year-old girl from the end of the road came close enough for the key to move. Mama Dread told me I had two choices. I could let the key stay with me. It would do nothing harmful on its own. It was not a curse. It was not a danger. But eventually, in days or years or decades, the door it belonged to would find me. I would see it. It would look like an ordinary thing, a door in a wall, a door in a field, a door standing alone in an empty space with nothing around it. I would know it immediately, the way you know your own name in a noisy room. And then I would have to choose, open it or leave it. And whatever was behind it, Mama Dread did not know what was behind it. 32 years of her work and her knowledge and her considerable power had not told her what was behind it. She knew only that it had been locked for a very long time, and that what locked it had put enormous effort into the locking, and that things that are locked with that kind of effort are locked because something very badly wants to get out. My second choice was to give the key back. Not to Mama Dread. She could not take it back. It had already moved to its right carrier, but back to the place it had come from, which meant a ritual, which meant coming back to Mama Dread's house for 7 nights, which meant things I could not fully describe to you, because I only partly understood them myself. Candles and words and things she burned in a dish, and things she pressed into my palms, and things she told me to say in a language I did not know, but somehow understood when I was saying it. I told her I would think about it. She said, "Do not think for more than 3 days. After 3 days, the key settles deeper and the ritual becomes harder." I went home. I thought about it for exactly 1 night. I told my mother I was going to Layla's house every evening for a week. Layla covered for me. She did not know where I was going, only that I needed her to cover. And because she was Layla, and she had known me since we were 6, she said yes, without asking questions. Every evening for 7 nights, I walked to the end of Calvary Lane. I am not going to tell you everything that happened in that house over those 7 nights, because some of it I was told in confidence, and some of it I do not have words for, and some of it I think would not be believed and would distract from the things that are important. What I will tell you is this. On the 3rd night, something followed me home. Not physically, I did not see it, but I felt it. A weight behind me on the road, keeping exact pace with me, stopping when I stopped, moving when I moved. I told myself it was nothing. I kept walking. I did not run because Mama Dread had told me very specifically, during the 7 nights, do not run on the road after dark. It interprets running as an answer. I did not ask what the question was. On the 5th night, Darius was waiting for me when I came home. He was sitting on the porch steps in the dark, and when I came through the gate, he stood up and looked at me and said, "Where have you been going?" I told him. He was quiet for a very long time. Then he said, "Is it working?" I said, "I think so." He said, "Cora, the corner of my room. The thing in the corner of my room. It started moving 2 nights ago." I looked at my brother. My brave, loud, always proving something brother, who I had never once seen frightened in my life. Not really frightened, and he was frightened. I said, 2 more nights, just 2 more. He nodded. He went inside. He did not sleep in the hallway that night. He went back to his room, to the corner, and whatever was in it. And he lay down in his bed, and he stayed there. I have always loved my brother for that. On the 7th night, Mama Dread did the final part of the ritual. I will describe only the ending. She took something, I could not see what, but I could feel it. A warmth that lifted from my skin, the way heat lifts from a road in summer. And she placed it back in the small bundle, and she tied the bundle with new thread, and she walked out to the yard, and she hung it on the pole where it had lived for 32 years. She came back inside. She looked at me. She said, "It is done." I said, "Is it gone?" She said, "It is back where it belongs, with me, until the next right person comes." I said, "Will the dream stop?" She said, "Tonight." They did. I slept for 12 hours that night, and I did not dream at all. And when I woke up, the light coming through my window was the most ordinary, beautiful thing I had ever seen in my life. 2 months after the 7 nights, in September, when school had started and the summer felt like it was finally closing behind us, Mama Dread died. Nobody knew exactly when. Nobody went to check on her. Nobody from Pinewell went to that house for any reason ever, by unspoken agreement that had held for decades. The county discovered it when the mail had been collecting for 3 weeks, and a passing mail carrier called it in. The county sent people. They went to the house. They found her inside, in her chair, at her table, the lamp still burning with its flame that did not move. The county cleared the house. They took everything, the jars and bottles and bundles and boxes, the things hanging from the ceiling, all of it taken and disposed of. A dumpster appeared at the end of Calvary Lane for 3 days and was taken away full. The poles in the yard were pulled up and taken away too. Everything was taken. When Layla told me, I sat very still for a long time. Then I said, "The bundle, the one on the pole." Layla looked at me. I said, "If they took everything, if they disposed of everything, then the bundle is gone. The key is gone." Layla said, "Is that good?" And I said the thing that I have been turning over in my mind for 20 years since. The thing that Mama Dread had never quite answered. The question she had moved around so carefully that I had not noticed she was never answering it directly. I said, "I don't know." She told me the key would find its right carrier. She told me it couldn't be destroyed, only moved or carried. She told me it had been looking for 30 years before it found me. Layla said, "So if the bundle was thrown in a dumpster," I said, "then it moved again to whoever handled it, whoever touched it without knowing what it was, the county worker who cleaned out that house, the person who drove the dumpster truck, the person at the disposal facility, any one of the dozens of hands that touched the things from Mama Dread's house without knowing what they were carrying. The key did not end never ended. It was never going to end. It just found a new carrier. Someone right now is carrying it. Someone who has no idea. Someone who has been having dreams lately that they cannot explain. The same dream every night. A yard with poles and moving things, and an old woman on a porch who says, "Come return what you took," before the taking becomes permanent. Someone who will eventually, in days or years or decades, see a door and have to choose. I hope, whoever you are, I hope you choose wisely. I hope you know that what is behind a door that has been locked for that long, locked with that much effort, by something that put everything it had into the locking. I hope you think very carefully before you decide to open it, because Mama Dread spent 32 years trying to find out what was behind it. She never told me what she found, but she kept it locked. She kept it locked until the very last breath she had. And I think that tells you everything you need to know. Pinewell is still there. The house at the end of Calvary Lane is still there too. Nobody bought it. Nobody tore it down. It just sits at the end of the road the way it always did. A little more gray. A little more fallen in. The yard empty of its poles now, but still feeling like a yard that remembers being full of something. The people of Pinewell still drive past it fast. They still look straight ahead. They still do not let their children near the end of that road. They cannot explain why anymore the old ones who remembered Mama Dread are gone or going, and the younger ones just know it as a feeling. A thing passed down without words. A body knowledge that says, not that road, not at the end of that road. They are right to feel it, even without the poles, even without the hanging things, even without the woman on the porch with her still lamp and her bare feet and her 32 years of patient waiting. Some places hold what happened in them the way wood holds smoke. Long after the fire is gone, long after the smoke has cleared, you can sand the wood, you can paint it, you can fill the house with ordinary people doing ordinary things. The wood still smells like smoke. I am 41 years old now. I have not been back to Pinewell in many years. I have a good life, a quiet life, a life I am grateful for. I sleep without dreams most nights, but sometimes, not often, not every night, just sometimes, in the deep part of a quiet night when the world is still, and I am almost asleep, I feel it. A warmth on my skin, like something briefly present, like something passing close. A feeling I know. A feeling I remember from that summer. And I think, somewhere the key has moved again. Somewhere someone new is carrying it. Somewhere someone is standing in a yard in a dream, very still, being looked at by an old woman on a porch. And somewhere, eventually, there is a door. I pray whoever finds it, that they are ready. I pray they are stronger than what is behind it. I pray that the lock holds, but locks were made to be opened, and keys were made for one thing, and the thing about something that has been locked for a very, very long time is that eventually it stops waiting quietly. Good night, Do not pick up things you do not recognize. Do not touch gates you were not invited to touch. And if you start having the same dream every night, a yard and poles and an old woman on a porch, do not go to the end of the road. I am telling you this because nobody told me. I am telling you this because I wish someone had.